With some things in this life, there's simply no choice to be made. No mental negotiation to fight, no motivation to work up, and no, I don't really feel like doing this today. There's just some things that I just do.
Create cool things.
With anything in your life that requires great change, there must be a process of forging these better habits. Now, what you're going to quickly realize is, depending on how long you've been steeped in any bad habit, this will take some serious dedication and something that I call a non-negotiable mindset. The first few months of developing any good habit are very critical. What you're going to find day after day as you're working on these new habits is your mind's going to try and play some games with you. I'm sure you've noticed this, especially when it comes to working out. You wake up in the morning and then you go, oh man, I gotta work out today. And before you know it, you start negotiating with yourself a little bit. You're like, well, maybe I can do a half workout today, or I think I am a little bit tired, so I'll just skip the workout today. And what you're really doing here is giving yourself options. Why are you giving yourself these options? As soon as you start to go down this rabbit trail, you're already creating a situation where you can just not do it. So how do you develop this non-negotiable mindset? Well, it does require acute awareness every single day when your mind is trying to play these little negotiation games. In the very moment you find this happening, you have to actively practice shutting off the rabbit trail of thoughts that might convince you to fall back into your old habits. Now, this at first will seem challenging, and the level of difficulty this feels like is typically indicative of how steeped you've been in those old habits. One thing you'll notice is that if you are consistent for a couple weeks and then you fall off, it's so much harder to get back on. You all of a sudden really start psyching yourself out and being like, I just can't be consistent. I've definitely noticed this in the past. I used to be consistent for a few days, even a few weeks, and then I'd fall off for like a week, and trying to get back on, it's almost like those negotiating thoughts are way more dominant, and I lean into them a little bit more if I've fallen off. This might be one of the biggest reasons why I'm so consistent about working out and what I eat. I know if I go more than a few days without being dialed in those areas, I know how quickly it can become an uphill battle to try and get to that place where I'm not needing to negotiate with my mind on whether or not I'm gonna work out and be active and be healthy. So as you develop this non-negotiable mindset, what I've found that's helped so much is using a fitness tracker like an Apple Watch, and then tracking the food you eat. Even if you're not going to track the food you eat for the rest of your life, take a few months and just figure out what you're stuffing in your face every single day.
I like oven-baked pizzas.
Once I did this, it was so eye-opening how many calories were in some foods, how many calories weren't in other foods. With my Apple Watch, how many calories I was actually burning every single day. Having access to all of this information literally left me zero room to try and lie to myself or live in some ignorant, magical happy land where I think I'm doing something effective when it's actually doing nothing. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll just eat a little bit less of this and then have some of that, maybe have some booze here, but it's all gonna even out because I'm fasting. Really? Have you actually tracked any of that? When I started all of this 2 years ago, I was still drinking a little bit. I started tracking all of the alcohol I was drinking, just seeing how much calories were in one IPA, between 2, 3, sometimes up to 400 calories for one beer. 2 of those beers, and then you had some whiskey. Before you know it, you're 800, 1,000 calories in, and you haven't even had any food yet. This is so crazy. There is light at the end of this tunnel, and this is the place where you'll eventually find yourself at. And again, this does take time, but eventually you can get to a place where you've completely reset your default. Your normal sense of life becomes defaulting to the good habits. And I'm personally still on this journey, but it's crazy once you get past it. I would say it's a pretty solid 3 to 6 months. Once you get past a year, it's freaking amazing. I am a changed person. If you knew me 5 years ago, you can ask my wife. I am a completely different person, and this has legitimately changed my life. Like I do get a bit emotional thinking about how much this has changed my life, how much defaulting to these good habits that make me feel good, that help me sleep good, that give me happiness and contentment. It's crazy. And I like, yeah, like, I know it's hard to see right now. You might be watching this video and you're like, I hear what he's saying, but it doesn't compute. But it's possible. If I can do it, you can also do it. Legit, it's freaking possible to rewire these things. It will take some work, but that's the fun part. The work gets fun. So you see how that, like, even that switch, like, I look at work and working out and these hard things, they're all fun to me now. It's like enjoyable. Before you know it, you'll look at yourself and you'll be like, dude, who was that guy 2 years ago? I'll go through my phone and look at old pictures of myself and old videos I used to take of myself, even videos I have of myself where I was like really drunk, and I look at that person and I'm like, I am not that person anymore. In terms of mindset, in terms of where my priorities were, how much anxiety I had, I deal with almost none of it anymore. Forget the New Year's resolution thing. There's more than just a 30-day challenge. There's like a lot more. How hard getting to this place feels right now is indicative of probably how reliant and maybe how trapped you are in those bad habits that you're currently trying to get out of your life. So here are some of my non-negotiable things that I have been working at the past 2 years and have been crazy consistent with. So the first thing, as I'm sure you already guessed, is working out. I work out 6 days a week unless my body really needs a rest, and I will take a rest day, but even on my rest days, I'm still being active and I give myself zero room to negotiate on whether or not I'm gonna do this. It's something I do, and that's the end of the discussion with it. The next thing is alcohol. This is a big one, especially here in the US, and I know across the world, a lot of people struggle with alcohol. Now, I will say, if you are personally struggling with alcohol, I will link some resources below for you to check out. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We all have different personalities, and sometimes you can just go down a path in life that takes you where you don't want to be, and that's okay. But I want to encourage you, there is help out there. You're not alone in it, and there's definitely lots of resources and people out there, probably those closest around you, who want to help you. But for me, with alcohol, it's not that I totally do not drink anymore, but what I keep as a policy is one that's what I call non-habitual. I do not drink regularly on any weekly basis. I drink very, very seldomly, and this is my own personal conviction with alcohol because it's just so bad for you. What I used to do years ago is literally drink every weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was pouring drinks, and it really did start to catch up to me, and my personality is like constantly wanting more. So I had some moments where I was looking at like, man, this trajectory, if I continue to drink in this way, it's not going to be good for me. Drinking that consistently will eventually create health problems. You're going to get higher blood pressure. It's going to damage your brain and virtually all of the other cells in your body. You get horrible sleep, not to mention all of the additional calories, organ damage. The list for how damaging alcohol is on your body and on your health and on your mental health and on the relationships around you, it's very long. And I think one of the worst places you can find yourself with alcohol is to be drinking it on a habitual basis. Multiple times every single week is really a habitual routine with alcohol, and this is where I draw the line. It's crazy once you get your head out of the sand on that one. It's huge, and there's no negotiating with that. The next few non-negotiables are eating a well-balanced diet every day that focuses on consuming essential micronutrients as well as getting enough protein in every single day. There's hardly ever a day where I'm not hitting my protein goals. If you ask the people around me, they'll probably tell you like, yeah, he's a little too obsessed with protein. Sleep and rest is non-negotiable. I make sure that I get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, and then the rest component, not just with sleeping at night, but also when I'm not working out, I do make sure I am padding in rest days. And the last thing here is thinking about others. Even if it's just my wife, I try and make time every day to just think about her. Think about what does she need? How can I help her today? I'm really trying to not be such a self-centered person. I know we can all fall into this, but this is just one of those things that I know will enrich my own life and enrich other people's lives. If I'm just like, hey, wait a minute. This is not all about me. How can I look beyond myself and just help someone else, even if it's those closest around me? Here's the crazy thing about these bad habits. Your bad habits are what makes you feel like trash. You feel like trash, so then you fall back on those bad habits. Well, I feel horrible, so I'm just gonna keep drinking. I'm gonna just chase these momentary things that make me feel a little bit better, and then you wake up the next day and, oh man, you feel horrible again. So then you go back. Dude, what are you doing? Why are you putting yourself through this horrible cycle? This is how you're living your life, and then you wonder why you're dealing with depression and anxiety and maybe the relationships around you are falling apart. This video is to snap you out of that cycle. I say all this because I'm speaking from experience. I've literally lived all of this myself and realized like, dude, there's got to be a better way. You've probably heard this in some way before. This isn't novel information. Don't be afraid of this kind of change. I know it does feel daunting. Don't focus on like the big picture. We focus on that big picture way too often, and we're not focusing on the little brush strokes that we're making today that equate to the big picture. Maybe it's 4 or 5 little brush strokes of acute awareness. This is what I need to do today that I will not negotiate on. And before you know it, you're gonna be like, dude, I feel freaking amazing. If you're watching this and maybe you've already been after this, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment or message me on Instagram, wherever, to say, dude, this has really helped me change for the better. Happy freaking New Year. It's 2023 and I'm feeling more motivated than ever to crush some fresh new YouTube content, fitness stuff, iPhone stuff, videography stuff, photography stuff. This channel is not super niche and I'm gonna keep it that way because you can be creative and also still be into fitness stuff and produce music and whatever. I really do appreciate the ongoing support. Check the link in the description for lots of goodies. If you need good music for your videos, you're gonna wanna go to moodsounddesign.com. Super stoked for this year. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace. No, I'm not gonna drink this beer. It actually, it smells disgusting. So don't, so change, but I think one of the worst things, oh my gosh, go ahead. The good old New Year's resolution, packed with so much, no. The good old New Year's resolution, packed with so much motivation for like 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, we're like this deflating blue,
Can you just